the showstopper. From all accounts, was a bit difficult in his mid-90s heyday, in much the same way that having your nuts flattened with a claw hammer is a bit uncomfortable. He was the original Total Diva, and while today he may have found God and even tagged with him at one point, while he may have changed his ways, ending his career as a respected legend, he got so many skeletons stowed away that he's got less of a closet and more of a mass grave. Keeping it to 10 was hard. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 things WWE want you to forget about Shawn Michaels. Number 10, WWF fired him in 1987. Yep, there almost wasn't a Shawn Michaels. Just think how happy Bret would have been. He might have even smiled once. This is the closest Bret Hart has ever come to smiling. See, Vince didn't invent the Rockers, as much as he'd like you to think that he did, the big veiny nutbox. Michaels and Jannetty had been tearing it up in the AWA and were even tag champs for the company before Vince lured them away in 87. Sadly, they didn't last long the first time around. They were fired 2 weeks into employment after rubbing the locker room the wrong way, culminating in a bar incident when Michaels smashed a glass over his head to prove that he could go, and Jannetty slept with a woman Terry Funk had his eye on. They were fired because, as Vince told them, the boys don't want you here. Thankfully, they were rehired a year later, but it's a big steaming plate of irony that, for as much of a backstage politic HBK became, that same politics almost ended his career before it started. Number 9, the Rockers won the tag titles. So the Rockers made it back to WWF after minor glass and funk-related shenanigans, and quickly made a name for themselves by being equal parts dynamite in the ring and dressed more garishly than an explosion in a ribbon factory. Let's just say that in terms of colour schemes, their styles clash. Despite this, mullets waving in the breeze, the Rockers had great matches with the Hart Foundation, the Brainbusters, the Orient Express, the Orient Express, but will be remembered in the company as one of the greatest tag teams to never hold the belts. Except they did. Shawn and Marty won the big prize in a 2 out of 3 falls match with the Hart Foundation in 1990, which WWF never actually aired because one of the ring ropes broke, compromising the match. WWF decided to return the belts to the Foundation and airbrush the title win out of history. Number 8, the Rockers fight. Everyone remembers the breakup of the Rockers as one of the great wrestling betrayals, Michaels super kicking Jannetty and hoying him through the barbershop window. What might make that moment less special for the fans is the knowledge that the Rockers hated each other backstage at the time. It's hard to know who's lying about what, but the tension seems to stem from a failed power play for more money, with either Michaels or Jannetty putting both their careers at stake by suggesting they jump ship to WCW. The tension built until an actual fight happened between the two men. It was apparently instigated by Roddy Piper, because of course it was, the bekilted troublemaker. He told Jannetty that Michaels was the future, so Marty challenged HBK to a fight. The two men got into it and were almost arrested when Randy Savage stepped in to tell the policeman that it was all a storyline. Then it did indeed become one. Kick, window, history. Number 7, The Undertaker almost kicked the crap out of him, from one backstage brawl to one that was narrowly avoided. By the time 1998 rolled around, Shawn was fucked all the way up. He'd seen Intercontinental title success, became the first ever Grand Slam champion, i.e. having one reign with the WWF Intercontinental Tag Team and European titles. DX had been a huge thing, but now he was addicted to pills, pissing off everyone backstage, and his back was royally buggered, so much so that it looked like he would have to retire. All in all, not a great time to be a Shawn. But before we could rehab, there was just one more thing, Columbo style. Michaels had to drop the belt to Austin at WrestleMania 14, and the thing about that was, HBK wasn't the most reliable guy when it came to WrestleManias. We will get to that. And there was doubts that he would do the honors and christen the Age of Austin, so Deadman Deadman Stuart Pork, the Phenom, he taped up his gloves and said, "Mikey, you have 2 options. Option 1, do the match. Option 2, I will make you pregnant with a pain baby." Michaels chose option 1. Number 6, he posed for Playgirl, with the title just there over his chap. Anyone who ever held the belt had to contend with the fact that no matter how many times you wiped that leather down, the title in your hand had, at one point, leant gently against HBK's DICK. And with PG being the thing right now, and supposedly having strict codes against Hall of Famers doing sex stuff for money, then maybe it's best we stop looking long and awfully hard at this picture, just this picture. Number 5, he was suspended in 1993. For what I hear you cry, give me a stir, give me a roids, what'd you get? A big pile of Whoopsie Goldberg. From 1991 to 1996, WWF did independent tests on their stars for anabolic steroids after all the hoopla, you know, the government nearly sending Vince to jail, stuff like that. Oh, Vince, that neck brace, though. Many stars fell victim to these independent tests, including one Shawn Michaels in September 1993. The Heartbreak Kid was IC champ at the time, was forced to vacate the title. Not the last time this will happen on this list. Still, it all turned out fine for Shawn. Things normally do, the insufferably fortunate little friend. With Razor being crowned champ in the meantime, Michaels returning claiming he was still champ, leading to that ladder match at WrestleMania 10, one of the great Mania matches of all time. Number 4, he wasn't a great teacher. Shawn Michaels trained Daniel Bryan, went WWE for ages. Wait, hang on, but didn't... No, mate, no! HBK trained Daniel Bryan. Obs, mate, obs. Yeah, it's just I could have sworn William Reed. No, mate, nah, HBK, good lad. Nah, I mean. It's just, nah, WKT Blue, mate. I have no idea what I'm saying. Point is, HBK made a show of becoming a teacher after retiring from in-ring competition, forming the Shawn Michaels Wrestling Academy, which, there's no ego there. Graduates include Paul London, Hernandez, Brian Kendrick, Lance Cade, and your man D. Bri. But apparently, Michaels wasn't cut out for teaching, had difficulty imparting what had come naturally to him in the ring, and before long, Rudy Boy Gonzalez took over teaching at the school. To be fair, Michaels got Bryan signed to WWF in 2001. He did do that. Bryan then went on to one of their developmental territories, Memphis Championship Wrestling, and got much more in-depth teaching from William Regal, who Bryan prizes as his teacher much more than Michaels. Number 3, he got beaten up by Marines. Another day, another IC title vacation. On October 22nd, 1995, Michaels was supposed to be wrestling Dean Douglas, putting his belt on the line against the silly teacher. Instead, Michaels came to the ring sporting a black eye and one of the worst jackets in the world. That jacket, sweet bleeding Jesus, that jacket. He handed over the belt looking very, very sorry for himself and left, allowing Dean Douglas to get immediately beaten by clickmate Razor Ramon, Waka Waka. Turns out Michaels had the shit kicked out of him in Syracuse by Marines, giving him a fierce concussion. Reports differ on how many Marines there were. Some claim bloody loads, mate. That would be Shawn. And some have claimed that one single Marine did the deal. We may never know for certain because with WWE championing US troops at every point, they do not want to talk about this, please. Number 2, what happened to his eye? Lots of bad things can happen in a WWE ring. Most of them involve R-Truth. I'll show you what's up, you colossal ball bag. Accidents can happen and they can have lasting effects. WWE don't talk about it, but Shawn's eye didn't always used to look like that, right? Like all close together, like he's got a solid silver at the inbreeding Olympics. What happened? Well, it was an in-ring accident that left a lasting scar. Unforgiven 2004 in a match with Kane is when Michaels says it happened. A botched spot during a comeback left a laceration above his eye, and after years of damage, the eye just went a bit, googly. A face permanently changed by wrestling and its dangers. And number 1, he ruined a WrestleMania. Sure, he lost his eye's old position on his face, but that's nothing compared to losing his smile. If this story is true, and pretty much everyone except Michael says it is, then it's one of the biggest dick moves in the history of professional wrestling. In 1997, before WrestleMania 13, on a special episode of Raw called Thursday Raw Thursday, which is a stupid name, HBK gave up yet another belt, this time the WWF Championship, claiming to have a knee injury, that he'd lost his smile, and then he needed to go find himself or some nonsense. See, Michaels was scheduled to headline Mania 13 with Bret Hart, who he beat for the belt at Mania 12. However, since that event, Bret and Shawn had come to hate each other, and Michaels was allegedly unwilling to drop the belt to Hart, choosing instead to f*** up the booking plans, fake an injury, and sit the event out. Allegedly. After WrestleMania, the two men would come to blows over their grievances, sparked when HBK implied live on air that married Hart had an affair with Sonny. He was a rambunctious little sod, that Shawn. Naughty, naughty best of all time. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon. WhatCulture.com are releasing a new magazine about wrestling, and it's called Wrestling. It'll have 140 pages of timeless wrestling content, including a brand new How WWE Should Have Booked written by this virulent son of a bitch. It will also have a list of the 100 best wrestling matches of all time compiled by What Culture staff and wrestling insiders. So the magazine is available to pre-order now. Follow the link in the description and enjoy WhatCulture.com's Wrestling.